It was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
Mr. President, it is time to have some checks and balances in this country.
It's a direct showdown constitutionally between the President and Congress.
The latest clash is over secret Justice Department findings, authorizing the CIA to engage in the harshest interrogation techniques ever.
Mr. President, we are a democracy.
Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano tonight is facing a storm of protests over her department's view on domestic terrorism. Now, she is refusing to criticize a Homeland Security report that links right-wing extremists with military veterans, supporters of border security, and advocates for gun rights. Napolitano offered an apology of sorts to veterans. Now, critics say that apology does not go far enough. Bill Tucker reports.
Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano tried to clear up the controversy surrounding her department's report regarding the threat potential of domestic right-wing extremist groups. Single-issue groups such as anti-abortion activists, groups focused on illegal immigration or Second Amendment rights, and military veterans all were mentioned as groups vulnerable to recruitment by right-wing extremists in the report.
Another controversial report and more damage control from the Department of Homeland Security. The same department that issued a report suggesting returning war veterans were susceptible to extremist groups, also issuing what it calls the, quote, domestic extremism lexicon, end quote. It's like a dictionary with definitions for various extremist or terrorist groups and some definitions. Here's an entry: anti-immigration extremism. The Department of Homeland Security's definition: people who are, quote, highly critical of the U.S. government's response to illegal immigration and oppose government programs that are designed to extend rights to illegal aliens, such as driver's licenses and in-state tuition. Here's another one: single-issue extremist groups. According to the DHS dictionary, there are individuals who focus on a single cause, such as animal rights or the environment. They are also described as special interest extremists. And this, anti-technology extremism, also referred to as neo-Luddites. These apparently are individuals who are opposed to technology. A DHS spokesperson today told us the dictionary was not authorized, that it was recalled shortly after it was let out, and state and local law enforcement officials have been told to ignore it.
Because there's something going on here. What is it?
Well, I think it's the overall narrative. It's part of what academia and the media and others are doing to say these veterans that come home are damaged goods. Beware. Be on the lookout. They've faced traumatic events and they're not going to be able to come home and handle it. Rather, we should be saying, look at what these men and women have accomplished. Look at what pillars of the community they will be. Look at the great leadership skills that they have and what they've done for this country. We should celebrate them. The president should be celebrating them, not sending out warnings that they're dangerous to the community. There's an underlying narrative that is creating this idea that veterans are victims. Veterans are not victims. They have served proudly. They want to come back and be part of their communities here. That's what our government should be saying. That's what President Obama should be saying at every turn, rather than saying, let's just take care of them when they get home. Let's give them what they need to win, and then welcome them back, celebrate them, and give them everything they deserve.
Well, Pete, without being too conspiratorial, I'm wondering if all this isn't just a desire on the part of the administration to shut up its critics, wherever they are.
Well, I mean, it's interesting the timing with which this report comes out. Apparently, also, if you have an anti-immigration sticker, if you're pro-life, or if you like guns. if you like guns, they should pull you over because you're apt to right-wing extremism. Well, I hope my parents don't get pulled over tonight. I mean, the reality is it draws way too broad of a spectrum, and it should never focus out veterans. You look at the men and women coming back, incredible, the best of our generation.
Oh, the best, absolutely. But I'm wondering how somebody could have read this through. These reports are written, and then they're read through by somebody to check their, whether they'll create a political stir. Who could have passed this on? I mean, who could have read this and not thought it would stir people up?
Well, this comes from the same Secretary of Homeland Security that now calls suicide bombers man-made disasters. I think there's a little bit of a detachment from reality somewhere in Department of Homeland Security from the threats that we really face. Thankfully, a lot of local communities are refusing to disseminate this to their law enforcement because it's so ridiculous. But there needs to be more vetting clearly at the top of DHS.
Pete Hegseth.
I think we all have to take responsibility for our actions and our words. We are a free country, and this balance between freedom and safety is one that we have to carefully balance. I have concerns about some of the language that is being used because I saw this myself in the late 70s in San Francisco. This kind of rhetoric was very frightening, and it created a climate in which violence took place, and so I wish that we would all again curb our enthusiasm in some of the statements that are made, so understanding that some of the people, the ears that it is falling on, are not as balanced as the person making the statement might assume. But again, our country is great because people can say what they think and they believe. But I also think that they have to take responsibility for any incitement that they may cause.
Transmissions will resume. I try to push, try to keep us all down, and hope that we will never see the truth around. Another promise, another scene, another package like to keep us trapped in real. Green bells wrapped around our minds, and endless red tape to keep the truth confined.
Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again.
It's too late to complain. You should have complained at the beginning, when you at least had a chance.
Living in the land of freedom. Here you go, America. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you.
The question is it safe? Expediency asks, the question is it politics? Vanity asks, the question is it popular? But conscience asks, the question is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor politics not popular, but he must do it because conscience tells him it is right.
There's a time when the operation